Hello and welcome back to the channel Held Dominance. Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you're seeing and want to see more. So with our continuing series in regards to the Elite Academy fallout from the Rugby Football League, Ralph Ritmer, the Chief Executive of the Rugby Football League, appeared on Sky Sports before the Salford versus Warrington game, and he answered a few questions towards why the academies have gone down to 10, first of all, and why some academies have been left out, is the best way to put it, because it's something that people needed to see. And the backlash from the interview has come out against the decision even more. I went on social media and there were comments on there that weren't too flattering when it came to the way that it was put across, especially when it came to talking about people that are going to be cast out of the clubs and the academies because of these financial changes. So we'll go into this interview, and I've made some notes on it and give you the highlights of what's gone on and my opinions afterwards. So for a brief rundown, Ralph Ritmer was interviewed by Brian Carney, with John Wells in the background, interviewing, adding his points to the cause. Unfortunately, most of them points have to be talked about at the community level, but there are some salient points that he did come up with. So getting into the bare bones of it, it has been a 3-year review of the academies that have gone on. It's been 3 years because of the pandemic, but it was done because of an RFL survey that was issued in 2018 about the game's growth and the position that the fans saw the game at this point. It was meant to be released in 2019, but as we all know, COVID delayed everything. This would have been started at this point. There was also due to the change in the TV deals, that was delayed. That was another reason for delaying this outcome until 2021, as it now lines up with the TV deal that's running at the moment and the start dates of that. So the clubs have been said to be involved in the process for those 3 years, but there was no communication from the RFL or clubs in regards to this is what the proposal was for the academies. The RFL said, why didn't clubs communicate this to the community side? It would have made things a whole lot much easier. That were Ritmer's words, not RFL's themselves, on this interview. The clubs were told immediately that 12 were going to be picked because the lack of numbers in each academy is terrible, according to the stats that Ritmer came out with. For instance, 9,000 people are in 9,000 kids are competing in rugby unions academies. They've got more, for instance, but only 1,400 in rugby league, roughly around that amount. He did say that the ultimate goal for all this process is to consistently beat the Aussies in a test series, whether that's England, Great Britain, or even at a World Cup. As I mentioned, Terry O'Connor did talk about the academy status, scouting and structure, and he did mention about those players that have been told that they can't play for their hometown academies if they wanted to be elite. Yes, there is different categories, but they decided no, that's not going to be elite level for the 5 that ultimately got told bye, including the 3 that already ran elite academies. So, there was another number that really got me. 30 pro contracts for academy players were made in 2021 for the Super League squads. It's a low number, that, but players are getting a bit more longevity, and there are other clubs that are preferring to stay in Super League rather than grow their own players, even though there are salary cap incentives for growing their own players. We'll come back to the salary cap a little bit further on with that incentive in mind. So the RFL's view is that we're trying something different, because trying the same things over and over again and expecting different results is madness, which is the philosophy that's in every walk of life. It does acknowledge that the sport is a late maturing sport, and these academies do give a better pathway, shall we say, for bringing players that are not only technically ready but also physically ready for the Super League or RFL in general. But there is a worrying amount of players that they've pointed on that, when they are getting cut from these academies, are leaving the sport completely, which is wrong. They should be given a pathway back into rugby league somewhere, even if it's just at the amateur level. Anyway, another numbers that came out against this academy difference is that a third of teams in rugby league have academies now. Only a third. People are just focusing in on those that have been dropped out from their academies, or dropped out from Super League clubs that play for the academies and play for the clubs, and they're not developing their own talent. One thing that really worries me is Catalan were picked as an elite academy side, but there are question marks if they are going to fulfill that academy status. If they don't, that's more money out of the system, and also less players coming through at Catalan. They're going back overseas, back over to the Northland. They're going over the English Channel, or the Manche, as they say in France. 3 of the 4 remits are leadership of each of the teams, how they've proved that they're leading the way to being academy sufficient, bringing players through, which is weird because Castleford are the 4th in the list for the amount of players playing for them that are played at academy level for Castleford, and name 14 of their 21-man squad in, as this video comes out, today's squad. Out of their 21-man squad that have come through their academy. They're expecting some short-term pain, as there is going to be 3 years of damage that's going to be caused because of this academy decision. But it is what they were going to expect. They were willing to do that for what they think is the betterment of the game. For instance, the RFL are expecting a sports resolution board panel to be convened with the appeal of Hull KR and Castleford's statement and the intent to do so, and welcome the appeal as well. Here's the actual words. They said, if the decision gets overturned, we don't feel our process mustn't have been as robust as we thought. So they are very, very confident, no matter what the outcome, that their decision is robust enough to get over any appeals. That's my take from it. So they are working. I think they're working to a theory that they want to beat the Australians. This is what we're going with, and the clubs can't vote against it. Trying to get it all into one point. One of the people, I may have got this name wrong, but Brian Carney. Yeah, Brian Carney did actually come up with this. The whole community boss for rugby league came out and said Steve Cooks was never consulted. Ralph Rimmer says the RFL development manager Mark Lovering was in communication with all involved. What does that mean? Does that mean the people that have put bids in, the current elite squad people, professional clubs as a whole, amateur clubs, community clubs, semi-pro clubs? Who did they get in touch with? Were there only 2 other applications? Only 2 other applications. Salford and Lee to become an elite. If they communicated with any of these people at the community, the league, semi-pro, professional levels, wouldn't there be more than 2? We've got an academy. Can we become a pro one? What if we show our facilities? What if we can give you examples of leading the way? But there are only 2 applications. I need to ask these certain questions. Who did Mark Lovering speak to? That's the first question. Second question is, best way to put it, is there any remorse over the decision deciding that these clubs cannot have elite academies? Do they expect the pathway to rugby league to be harder because of it? Or do they want certain clubs to have the benefit over the others? Now back to the salary cap bit. If, for instance, George Williams comes back to Wigan, like John Bateman has gone back to Wigan, the clubs are getting a benefit through the salary cap. What if they are marquee players as well? They're marquee signings, first of all. If they're marquee signings, they're getting an X amount of money bump up in pay. It's the way that the system works. If they have got this salary cap exemption, does that mean they're paying even more than that on top? And if George Williams comes back as that sort of player, will they get that exemption's going to be put in for the salary cap straight away? But will he be classed as a marquee player, so it goes up again? Or are Wigan playing marquee fees to multiple players, more than the limit at this moment in time of 2? It's a system that needs to be worked on, and they did admit that they need to fix some of the loopholes that are in the salary cap system. But they don't have definitive answers at this time. They say it's been going for 3 years, but they were going to release it in 2019. Why didn't they keep reviewing it to make sure that they've got the right answers for all the reasons why? They made sure, no, let's not do that. We don't have to justify it to anyone. We're going to go ahead and do this, and they can like it or lump it. Not care about the community sport, not care about the kids in the community teams. They've just made it harder for rugby league to be bigger outside of the Super League. If they were going to do this elite structure, they should have done it in tiers years ago. Right at the beginning of the Super League. Made it guaranteed that every club has a youth side. Or that they run a community youth league. That way, they are showing true initiative to grow the game. That should be in the Super League Charter. Every club must have a youth team or be in charge of a community league. I know that league fees will be generated through. I won't go into that. That's a whole different story, which is going to turn off rugby league fans and players and juniors when playing rugby league in the future. But I'll just leave it there. And if you have any questions about it, please ask those questions. I will want to know the answers too. And if I can answer some of the questions from it, then great. But I'm as confused as everyone else at this point. How can clubs like Bradford lose their academy identity? One statement today really got me about Bradford. They wouldn't have come out of the multiple administrations if it wasn't for their academy's strength. Whether it's to move on players to other clubs, bring them through from their academy to play for the first team, or just to have the academy there with the backing of the community to help keep that club alive. So that's my thoughts on the actual interview from last night. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also remember the level race to 100 is still ongoing, so subscribe, share the video for more people to subscribe and more attention. But in the meantime, thank you again for watching, all the best, and I'll see you in the next video.